Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Good morning. I'm going to call to order this morning the joint meeting of the Community and Economic Development Authority and the Housing Advisory Committee. And we will start by doing a call to order for the Economic Development Authority. Joyce?
Sure. Garcia Sierra.
Here.
Hamilton.
Here.
Hardy.
Here.
Maldonado.
Here.
Potts.
Here.
Sanders. Here. Lafadari.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Are we doing a roll call for the Housing Advisory Committee at this time?
I'll take that one.
Okay, Mike.
Okay. Perry? Shimming? McKee? Amagashi? Sanders?
Here.
Mertens? Gorman?
Oh, there's Michelle.
Mertens? We're doing a quorum? We can see you. Your mic's off, but we can see you, Marshall. Bozeman?
Here.
Gerhardt. We don't have a quorum, but we're kind of doing information there's no official action with the Housing Advisory, so we can keep going.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next item is the approval of the CETA minutes from June 26, 2025. I assume everybody got a chance to look at them, and is there any comments or feedback on the minutes? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
I will motion to approve.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
So moved by Ms. Sanders, seconded by Mr. Potts. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Same sign for no. Okay, hearing none, you have minutes to approve. Next item for our folks on FACTv are here in the room. Is there any public appearances for non-agenda items? Okay, hearing none, we will move forward. So our next item is the 2025 housing plan and redevelopment resources. Kristen Fish Peterson and Dana Sarver and Dean Prestegard will be presenting. So Joyce and Mike, we turn the floor. Mike wants to say something first. And
Yeah, I'll
we'll
kick
go
it
from
off.
there.
And
thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, we did our first housing plan in 2019. We've made tremendous progress on the implementation and action items in that plan, which was our initial inaugural plan. But so much has changed in the housing market and the economy since 2019. Not only with the economy, construction costs, and then with the capitalization of our housing fund. So we are in need of a good update with our 2025 housing plan. So we went through an RFP process, and redevelopment resources with Kristen, Dana, and Dean rose to the top. And we wanted to come to both Housing Advisory Committee and CETA as the two organizations in the city that kind of lead our housing initiatives efforts. And CETA is actually a housing authority by state statute. So we really wanted to get your input, perspective, and ideas on the front end of the process. So in the interest of time, I will turn it over to Kristen and Dana to lead us through their process to get that feedback from you folks.
Okay, thank you very much. Our guests,
Good morning.
it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to try to share this so you can all see it. We have a brief presentation that I'll talk us through. Dana, let me know if I'm sharing the right way here.
We still see we see the presentation mode.
How about that?
Yep, that works.
All right, thank you so much. I'm Kristen Fish-Peterson, and with me is Dana Sarver. We met with the Committee of the Whole last night, and we have done quite a bit already. And so today we're going to share with you some information about all of that. We're going to do an overview of some early demographic and market data. This is just a snapshot of what we're seeing so far, kind of leads us through the process. One thing Dana and I have discovered when we do enough of these studies, there are always hidden gems that the story beyond just the data can tell. And so we also do a lot of public input gathering to get information from residents, other stakeholders in the community, and we'll share where we're at on that part of the process. And then we'd like to get some thoughts from you. So at the very end, we have a timeline just to show how we'll progress through the process here. And and ask questions along the way, please. We'll get right into the data. It will advance for me. Come on, there we go. The first slide here shows the city of Fitchburg as broken down by school district. We have the Madison Metropolitan School District, the Verona Area School District, and the Oregon School District shown on the map on the left. And that gives us perspective. The chart on the right shows your household trend and projections by school district. So we look at what's happened in the past, 2010, 2020, most recently 2024 data, and then we're projecting into the future how those different school districts will grow in terms of population. And Dana, I have a quick question about that. Is that the whole community, the whole school district will grow, or the school district as it relates to Fitchburg?
As it relates to Fitchburg. So it's
Okay.
just within Fitchburg's boundaries, what is the school district?
All right, thank you. The next slide shows median household income comparison by a number of seven different communities in the metro area, where Fitchburg stacks up related to its neighbors in terms of median household income. And on the right, the chart shows the median home value comparison. So where we have higher incomes in Wanakee, a little bit lower home value, but higher home value in Middleton and a little bit lower income. Otherwise, they're pretty consistent across the board. The next, I always love this chart. The chart on the left shows the existing housing stock built by decade, or by decade built. And when we look at communities consistently over time, Dana and I have done quite a few of these housing studies. Most communities have a housing stock that's very old, and the first bar built in 1939 or earlier is usually the longest bar on all of these charts that we look at. But here in Fitchburg, it's one of the shorter ones because you're a newer community, and a lot of your development has happened, really starting in the 70s, as far as home construction or housing stock construction. What we normally see is that, 1939 or earlier bar really long, and then we see consistent development by decade up until 2009, where you were ramping up in, starting in the 70s, 80s, 90s. the impact of the Great Recession doesn't look as dramatic on your chart. It was dramatic for the city of Fitchburg like everywhere else, but it doesn't look as dramatic on your chart as it does in many other communities. However, we do see a slowdown after that period of time, and that is affecting the available housing stock. There are other factors that affect the available housing stock, which we'll go into in the final report, but this is just one that we look at. Has construction kept up with the demand? And here it looks like it has not after the Great Recession. The other chart on that slide shows existing housing stock by structure type. So a majority of your homes are single unit detached, which means a single family home, not attached to another building, like not a duplex. And the second highest category is 20 or more units in a single building. So you have a lot of multifamily and a lot of single family homes, but what you have less of is what we call the missing middle. And the missing middle, I have a whole book. I didn't get to hold this up at the meeting last night, but the missing middle housing is kind of blurry because of my screen. It's a whole theory around all of the types of units between single family detached and high density multifamily. So that would include duplexes, triplexes, quads, townhomes, condos, and pocket neighborhoods or cottage court developments. And I believe that we probably will be seeing a high demand for more of that because it is smaller footprint, higher density, conceivably less expensive because it's not a single family home on a quarter-acre lot. But we want to make sure when we look at, is the city of Fitchburg prepared to build this type of housing or approve it? We want to look at your zoning codes. So we will be spending some time doing that. On the next slide, I'm going to let Dana take this one, and she's probably prepared for me to hand it over to her. She's the expert in this slide.
So the one on the left is a breakdown of your owners and renters by the share of the HUD area median family income or HAMFI. So you can see that this probably isn't news to you, knowing that there's like over 50% of the households are renters, that the lower income categories are dominated by renters. But what's interesting is the where ownership really stands out is over the 100% of HAMFI. So that's just like the breakdown of by income level and tenure. Then the chart on the right is a little bit more complicated. So any household that spends greater than 30% of their household income on housing costs is considered cost burdened. Any household that spends greater than 50% of their household income on housing costs is considered severely cost burdened. So the chart on the right breaks down those that are cost burdened and severely cost burdened by tenure and by income level. So the left grouping is just for the households that are renters, and then the right grouping is for owners. And it's not terribly surprising to see that there's more renters that are severely or that are cost burdened or severely cost burdened, but you do have owners. So it'll be interesting to look at our potential buyers having to buy housing stock that's greater than their income level because that's what they can find. So Kristen, I'll pass it back over to you.
Thank you. We also have an interesting chart we'll share in the final report that shows if the housing isn't available at the upper level, higher income earners end up buying down and take housing away from people in the lower levels. So it's just as important to build housing at the higher end of the spectrum so that everybody has the appropriate housing.
I just wanted
this next slide. Oh,
sorry. I just wanted to pause and just voice that, like, I would love, like the previous slide that you just showed, to also be shown sometimes at these neighborhood planning and listening sessions. because I think there's a lot of comments that we've actually received from the public of like, the problem of housing in Dane County isn't Fitchburg's problem to solve. And while that feels a little selfish to me, I think there's also this miss of complexity of, to your point, like if people are trying to be fiscally responsible and can't buy a home that fits within their burden of cost, they're buying a cheaper home, which might be severely under what they can afford, but then they're taking it away from somebody else. I think this is a really fantastic slide for staff, for people on this committee who are on other committees to incorporate into other presentations, because I think this is the kind of nuance that sometimes we all forget because we're not housing specialists, like myself included. So thank you for sharing this, and I hope we can incorporate this into other, not just housing specific things, but things like neighborhood planning sessions.
As we have understood for a while, but we love to share, it's housing, the housing story is very nuanced and complex. This next slide, then the next few charts show local data from a local realtor based on data she provided to us. Jenny Sanders from First Weber graciously did a data dump from the MLS service for us. And the chart on the left shows total units sold by type. So single family is the dark blue, lighter blue is the condos, duplexes are green, and then total units sold is in the line, the trend line. You can see that very active 2019, 2020, 21. Units sold went up. I think what happened then, we had a lack of inventory, or the inventory got very scarce and units sold went down. And I think that's what we're experiencing now too, is a lack of inventory. Or people are waiting for the interest rates to change. So there's, a lot of people that refinanced in 2019 or in 2020 during COVID, like I did, at 2.65%. They don't want to let go of that right now. So they're just sitting tight. There are so many reasons why this could be the way it is, but the median sales price by type is also shown on the next slide on the right, and you can see the consistent rise in pricing over the last 5 years. That is why housing is priced as you can see what it's done here. Condos have gone up, single family home prices have gone up, duplexes are all over the board. I don't know if that's due to availability, but we will dig in a little deeper on that. And then the last chart here on the left is median days on market. And you can see how fast the houses and condos are flying off the market when they're not even 15 days. Average days, median days on the market is 15 days back in 2019. And it's, 6, 7, or 8 days on the market. That's crazy. I don't know. I'm sure the realtors' heads have been spinning for a long time. Duplexes, again, are all over the board. I'm not sure if that's due to availability. When new product comes on the market, I'm not sure how that's panning out. Any questions about the data? We're going to move next into our public input update. So far, we have a multifaceted approach to gather public input. Our survey is available online and in hard copy in both English and Spanish. The electronic version has been publicized on social media, on the city's website, throughout other methods of pushing it out to. Lorene has gotten the property managers to hang the QR code on a poster in the lobby of multifamily apartment buildings, so we can try a concerted effort to get renters to answer the survey. We also will be showing up at various places to promote the survey. Postcards have been sent and are being sent out directly to folks with encouragement to take the survey. It's now open, and it will be open through early August. I'd like to report that after just I'd say a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, we have over 250 completed surveys. 280 people have started the survey, not finished, so 30 more people have actually started the survey and not finished it, but we have 250 completed surveys. So that's really great response so far. Every time it gets proactively pushed out on social media, we see a bump in the responses. So the city is going to continue to do that and promote it. If you have the opportunity to share the post on your social media, that will help spread the word and more people will see it. So we appreciate that. I'm conducting stakeholder interviews and I'm talking to people across the board, from realtors, developers, contractors, property managers, nonprofit and service agencies, banks, small businesses and large businesses, and even the school district. I've completed 13 interviews so far and gotten some really great insight. I have several scheduled for next week, and I'm just going to keep going. I even have one of your county board members agreed to speak with me. So we trying to get a very broad range of folks that we're talking to. There's a group of residents too that are on the list. The list was made up by the city staff, and it's very comprehensive. We did a senior focus group on Monday this week, and we did a staff focus group on Tuesday. We also have neighborhood gatherings planned. We have some other pop-up engagements, and we will be at the National Night Out doing intercept surveys.
Can I interrupt you before you go to the next slide? Alder Maldonado has his hand up. Joe, we're just seeing you here. Question?
Yeah. Thank you for all that engagement. I also want to thank Lorraine for her groundwork. I know she reached out to me, and I'm sure she reached out to other alders to kind of figure out where to go. I would also say, since Alder Gearhart's on the housing committee and she also works at Habitat, that I live in a neighborhood where probably about half of the houses are Habitat homes. So I'd be glad to do this outreach in my neighborhood, but two, it's probably likely that Habitat has some sort of a listserv of people that have gotten homes built in Fitchburg. So I think it would be beneficial to do that outreach to be able to push for folks that live or have lived in Habitat homes in Fitchburg to fill out this survey. And I know you mentioned a county supervisor. I'm not sure if it was Supervisor Hustelman, but she is a Habitat resident as well. So I think that is a kind of piece of the equation that may help get some really good insight in the surveys and also in the focus groups.
That's great input. Thank you very much.
Kristen, it's Joyce, and I'm sorry to ask this of you, but is it possible to keep the survey open one additional day, maybe till like noon? Mike is doing an economic development update at the chamber, which is very well attended. And I think if we made that announcement and asked people to do it before noon, you'd probably get a really good response. So if it's possible, if not, I would really.
Absolutely possible. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
I had a
Wonderful. Dana will
quick
keep
question.
that.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. Joyce, that was a super great idea. I'm glad you mentioned you're talking with bankers. I think that's super important and was one of my questions. I had a friend recently who just bought a home in Fitchburg in my neighborhood, which I'm super excited about. And she struggled to get a loan, even though she's got 3 successful businesses that she owns, because banks don't like giving away loans to people who don't have W-2s, which blew my mind. So I know there's also some nuances around condos and giving away loans for condos unless they're like 80% sold or something that involves building. So I'm super excited to hear that you're speaking with bankers, and I would love to understand, like, in honesty, what are those pieces of feedback and what other, I don't want to say like commitments we can get from them, but just watching my friend's recent experience being in an upper income level and watching her struggle to get a loan, I can't imagine what other people are struggling with who are not in her same position. So I would be super interested in seeing that feedback specifically.
Thank you. Yeah, one banker has responded so far, and I'm working on the rest of them. So the one that I did talk to, I will say, is unique in that his goal is to help people achieve home ownership. So he's looking at banking products that are supportive of that. He has also shared with me that they're seeing a lot of young people not qualifying for loans, so their parents are stepping in and helping them qualify by lending their qualifying credit, as well as supporting them with down payment support and things like that. So a young couple recently was approved for a $750,000 home because of the credit of their parents and their parents putting the down payment down for them. So
yeah, that would be just one reference. If we could pull in the president at Lake Ridge Bank, Paul Hoffman, I think he was super committed and helped my friend personally as a female entrepreneur. I think that would be a good person too.
It's highly likely he's on the list. I will.
Awesome.
I can't look right now because I'm
no worries.
I'm
No worries at all.
My screen. Okay.
Before you hold on, excuse me, before you move on, while we're at a stopping point, anybody else in the committee or council have any comments? Okay, back to the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks. We'd like to move into the engagement phase of this presentation where we ask questions of you, and we have three questions here just for thought provocation, and you can answer one or all three. And if you want to take them one at a time, that's fine, but we'd like to hear from you. Where and how do you see the community growing as far as, and that's in terms of all different kinds of things. Is it in greenfield areas, meaning undeveloped areas, or is it in infill areas? And then would it be commercial, residential, or other kind of development? Another question we're curious about is, what do you think are barriers to growth or development? And then how can the city help facilitate missing middle housing development from your perspective? We have ideas, but we want to hear from you.
I was only staying quiet because I feel like I talk too much. Who wants to talk first? Andy Potts?
Sure.
I'd love to hear your thoughts so much.
I can jump in, sure. I think on the first question, the answer is yes, but all of the above. I think it's going to have to be a mix of the greenfield and infill development. In particular, I think infill lends itself more, especially looking at the areas like along the Fishhatchery corridor. We've been doing infill to achieve some of the higher densities and really take advantage of that main transportation corridor. I think you can see the similar development potentially along McKee Road at some point in time. I do like seeing a mix of commercial and residential. In particular, seeing kind of more pedestrian scale, walkable, bikeable neighborhoods, and I think having that mix of uses really lends itself to that. I would say one of the barriers I see, in addition to kind of the larger marketplace pieces that we've already talked about, I think there's a fair amount of NIMBYism that goes on in Fitchburg, and that's obviously not unique to Fitchburg, but I think that is definitely a barrier that we see to growth. And I think there often is an attitude of sort of, I'm here, pull the ladder up behind me. And I'm not sure how we overcome that other than just through public engagement and outreach.
Other comments? I know, Joe, your hand's up there.
No, I already spoke, but I did mention this last night at the committee of the whole, which is, I think it's really important that we have flexibility in the housing that's built. because populations change, demographics change, needs and uses change. An example of it was somebody from the city of Madison I was talking to about kind of a corridor near campus. And their feedback was, if we need more student housing, if someday that student population drops, we need it to be available for, general public or families. So I just feel like any development that we do should have in mind that communities will change, and if there can be some flexibility in how things are built and how they're set up so that it can accommodate multiple people.
Thanks, Joe. We have some others online and others here in the room. Anybody else have any comments for our consultants here? Go ahead, Nicole.
Okay. Just a couple thoughts. I do think one of the things that I have heard being part of the Greenfield Neighborhood Planning Group that I think is really, really valid is a couple barriers of growth for development, or a couple priorities of where I see things growing. I, like Andy, really like the infill approach where possible, just for like infrastructure and all of that. I do think our community needs to get maybe a little more comfortable with the idea that one of the things people like about us most in Fitchburg is that we're green, that we have this like beautiful land. There's a lot of nature. Our parks are just kick you know what. We love our outdoor spaces. And a way to maintain those is to not just invest in single family homes. It's to invest in higher density that takes up less space of that green space. And also to still have a mix. And so I do think that part of the thing that I've heard from the neighbors there is that they like the idea of, they were saying keep Greenfield green. I think the hard part is that in part of that plan, wherever we put high density to take up less space, they were also against. And so I think that is one of the barriers to growth, that in just growth and development, we have to make a choice of which one do we want. I think also there should be a campaign. I don't know who did this in Middleton, but I've seen signs when driving around that just says neighbors for more neighbors. I do think a grounding to our community of the fact that this is just people looking for houses. I wasn't born here. I didn't grow up here. I'm not even from Wisconsin. I moved here and was super happy to be part of this community. So I do think a little PR campaign of the point of we don't want this NIMBYism. We don't want climb up the ladder and pull it up behind you. And we just want more neighbors who are going to come and bring ton of economic investment and development into the community. So I think those are kind of some key elements that I would like to see being put into this. And then I had never heard, my last comment, I had never heard of the pocket neighborhood concept that you brought up. I Googled it when you brought it up. It looks super cute. And I would love to see also this being brought up. I think families would find this really attractive, but I also could imagine my parents living in something like this, especially when we look at health outcomes in higher ages being so closely tied to social entwinement and how, right? How many friends do you still have? It's so important to your health outcomes and longevity. So I just hadn't heard that term brought up, and I would love it discussed more along with agri-hoods, which I think was something really great that was brought up in the Greenfield neighborhood as well.
So if I could just give a quick synopsis of pocket neighborhoods, that was the original term. In the Missing Middle book, they also call them cottage courts. And so it's the concept is a small cluster of small homes on small spaces around a common courtyard or green space where the footprint of the house is smaller, the lot is smaller, and the homes are closer together. And there is a sense of community amongst that cluster of homes where you might have a variety, a very big diversity of residents. You might have a single mom with a couple of kids next to a single elderly person, and every combination of lifestyle in between, and there's connection that can be made. And I think you're spot on about seniors wanting, this would be a great opportunity for seniors who can still live independently on a single level structure, but to have connection accessible to them right out their front door. So I'm a big fan, as Dana knows. And you can do them in the middle of a neighborhood. If you have 2 or 3 city lots that are together, you can build a pocket neighborhood on a half acre or an acre. And you need a special zoning code though. So that's where we're going to be looking at, do we need to make an adjustment to our zoning code to accommodate this? I'm the economic development consultant or staff person for the Village of Mount Horeb, and they're going through an overall zoning code rewrite right now, and I brought them code language specifically for a special code for cottage court, and I use the cottage court term, and they changed it to pocket neighborhood. So they're on board in Mount Horeb. So hopefully we can see how we can make that work for Fitchburg too.
I just want to say I do appreciate, and I've spent so much time talking to you guys, so I won't say too much here, but I appreciate that we're looking at all types of housing, from workforce housing all the way up to, kind of more the affluent buyer, because I have clients at all levels of that, from first-time home buyers to the retirees looking to live in a ranch home that they are not ready for, an assisted living type thing. So that's really where my interests lie. I think that I see the housing shift slowing down. I have a lot of retirees that are staying in their 5,000 square foot house because they have no ranch duplexes or ranch condos to go to. And so I think looking at all ends of the spectrum is really going to be useful, because when they shift into, if they have somewhere to go, then we're going to see this housing shift happen all the way from first-time home buyers to the retiree end. So I really appreciate that.
That's one question I asked, and I do love to ask this question of realtors. And I think I asked you in a previous meeting, what product could you sell all day if you had the inventory? And one realtor said to me that he would sell 2-bedroom, single-level condos. Doesn't even have to have a basement because they don't need stairs for the market that he's thinking of. He thought he could sell 2,500 of them. So there is a big demand for that.
I would add one more point to all this. Excuse me. The length of time to pull some of this stuff off, as we look at whether it's a pocket neighborhood or it's condos or whatever, I think that the issues now and what we can get going quicker as we begin to come forward with the plan. Excuse me, my voice is cutting out. But the quicker we can do something, even if it's a pilot or an idea to try things, it's going to help us be proactive. And I like the idea that I think Nicole said about the banks and where they are with that. Get the financial people engaged as well with the developers and the city to move all this forward. So I think I'm just concerned it's going to take how long is it going to take us to do some of this stuff? Because we heard 3 to 5 years when we were at that thing at Sun Prairie about a month ago to get something like this going. So however we can move it along, I would highly support trying to do that. So thanks. Just a comment.
I think to add to...
So our work will... Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kristen. Sorry.
I wanted to just say our work will include not only a housing demand forecast, but it will also include recommendations to policies and programs so that we can make sure that we can juggle all the balls at the same time. It usually, our studies end up feeling like a lot of work to staff, but it's all important, so.
Thank you.
And just to add to your point, I like the idea of a pilot, because I think the other thing that does is it makes the community feel like we're not forcing something on them until we've tried it out. Like, I mean, clearly, if you build a pocket neighborhood, one pocket neighborhood, it's going to be there, right? But I think sometimes seeing is believing. And so this idea of like, could we get one pocket neighborhood in Fitchburg started, or something of that, not in a non-planful way, so it's in a weird spot, but I just think that ideas of a pilot is really cool, because the nice thing about a pilot is you get buy-in. You can have people give feedback on things, and so I think that could help community engagement and buy-in too.
Other comments? Mario?
Yeah, I do have just a couple of thoughts here as well. And I also, in terms of community growing, I think that there is a lot of need and also opportunity in the residential market there. And that will be at least that's an interest of me and a focus for myself as well. And for sure, the infill concept is intriguing. I think that we definitely need more of that here in the area, and definitely need to try new concepts. I think at this point we have to be creative and innovative with what we have in front of us. I think that harder times are coming, and they are around the corner. So we gotta be ready for that. In terms of barriers, I think that zoning, it's an issue, and also the perception that we have in this community about how much it costs to live here. For some people, is getting too expensive. You see the complaints in some of the online forums there. But on the other end, I think that we have a lot of residents here whose only option is renting, and it's because they just do not make enough money to make ends meet. That's just the reality that they face in life. A lot of them work in the service industry area. They do not make enough money to survive, and they have a lot of family members working full time, and it still is not enough. That's just the reality there. And how can the city help? Many times what I see is what are the right incentives that the city can put forward so we can bring more people, especially people who are interested in looking at how to make housing more affordable. If there is a person who wants to be a renter, that's what they love, great. But if there is a renter who wants to own in the next 3-5 years, how can the city facilitate some of that? Like, do we need to acquire pieces of land, for example, to show those specific pilot projects? I think that will be something to explore. In terms of renter and public engagement, I would love to see renters well represented in this survey as well. I know that it's hard to get some of them, so I'm glad to see that there are some efforts there. But if I can be of any help, I will be willing to help as well. Not too long ago, we had a forward community investments here in this chamber. So what's the role of some of those institutions to help advance some of these needs and goals? So if they are not being interviewed, maybe we need to interview them as well, and maybe other institutions that can just center in the concept of affordability. So those will be my 2 cents for now.
Thank you, Mario. Very good thoughts. Other comments?
So every time I get in front of a developer, I'm begging them to come to Fitchburg and build here. And they all say the same thing: we need land. Give me land and I'll do it. And so I think that is probably going to have to be one of the top priorities to create more housing development here, is we've got to figure out what we can do for land. And it's not anything new, you guys know that, but I feel like it seems to be the same answer over and over and over again, that I need land and I need some incentives to help with the costs. So that seems to be kind of the feedback that I'm getting everywhere.
Is that just because, sorry, just a follow-up question. Is that just because private landowners are not willing to sell?
You guys can probably speak to that.
Yeah, we don't always control kind of the timing, and motivation. We've been trying to match up people with, especially those key infill parcels in Fitchburg, and trying to identify their timing as landowners, but then also trying to match up developers with particular product that, would look at some of the property.
But as this ties to the point that I think Kristen made right when she started, we're not going to solve Dane County's housing problem. And if you read what's going on in Madison's saying they got no land too.
Mm-hmm.
And that then just pushes it out in the four ways around the lakes. And I think we have to look at that we can really only go south as you look at this. Mike, we did this a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it said south and east, as far as we can go east, is what's there. So
I think one of the challenges in the next just couple of years, even though we've got 2 neighborhood plans that will be up for consideration by the Plan Commission and Council in September, again, the timing of those and any additional land is going to be based on the landowners. And Greenfield, I'm not sure. It doesn't seem like there's property owners that are kind of interested in seeing their property move forward with development. And then in the South Stoner Prairie neighborhood, where that's in the Verona School District, and right now we're really out of lots in the Verona School District. The 2 main property owners are still quarrying their properties, at least for the next 5 years and probably beyond that. So, there's going to be a challenge. So that's why we've been internally focused as staff, trying to move those key infill parcels. So, for example, the Holmes-Bobberschmidt land, which is on the north end of our uptown neighborhood, we've wanted that to come forward for multiple years here, and they were stuck. And then one of the cousins that have the land came to town, and we drove her all over. And as we drove through Terravesa, she said, "Who did this neighborhood?" And we said, "Well, Phil Sveum, local developer." And she said, "Our family could really use some real estate consulting of how do we bring forward our land through the entitlement and kind of the economics process." So we introduced Phil Sveum to the family, and they've made more progress in the last 8 months to bring their land forward than over the last 8 years. They submitted an updated Article 3, which is kind of the master regulating land use plan under SMART code that Deanna, our city planner, is in the process of reviewing right now. And then we expect to see a preliminary plat from them yet this fall. So we'll start to see that land come forward. So we're trying to do some of those things quietly where we're matching up developers. Another example is the iHeart property here at the corner. 14 acres, that's a prime intersection, Fish Hatchery Road, Lacey Road, and we're trying to match somebody up with iHeart, but it's not only a land use, because right now it's a low-density residential future land use, but our elected officials have indicated a willingness to look at a higher level of density. So it's how do you match up the future land use with the economics of the land as well to make a project that could be economically viable, there. So it's a puzzle sometimes in a matchmaking kind of situation with the landowner and the developers.
Other comments? Andy?
So I originally had like 1 comment. Now I think I'm up about 4. So I guess one to the comment that's been made a few times that we're not responsible for Dane County's future housing needs. And while we're not responsible for the entire burden, we're still responsible for like 7 or 8% of that burden, and that's not an insignificant amount of housing needed. To the cottage court idea, there was I think an attempt at doing one in Oak Meadow on, I think it's like Oak Park Court or Oak Park Way. It's not exactly the concept, but there was an attempt at doing it. It's probably, Mike, maybe is it like maybe 16, 20 houses on a couple of acres. That they're fairly small. I think it's kind of getting at that. It didn't exactly work out being on a green. It's more of a U-shaped neighborhood, but I think at least something that's within the general wheelhouse of what that would look like.
Andy, to be ignorant, where's Oak Park?
So it's Oak Meadow, so it's
Oak
like
Meadow.
right over here, kind of behind the iHeart property.
Okay, thank you.
That was a development that Bill Shield did with a single-family condominium association that's
Yes.
over there.
And then as far as other barriers, I would throw out there just transportation and transit. A lot of people who are going to work in Fitchburg or who will either live in Fitchburg or work in Fitchburg aren't necessarily aligned. So we have a lot of people who live here and either work downtown, like myself, or who work at Epic. So we need to make sure that we have connections to neighboring communities. And then I guess the last barrier that I see is there's sort of a stigmatization of renters. And I don't know how we overcome that, but just the number of comments you hear that I think in public forums that are kind of anti-renter, as if people somehow magically went from graduating from their post-secondary education to buying a house and never rented a piece of property in their lives. Again, I don't know how we overcome that, but renters are people just like homeowners who in some cases are just a little bit earlier on their journey in the real estate market. And again, I don't know how we overcome that, but I think that is another barrier that I see.
Just a quick comment here as well, and I agree with that, and I think that hopefully in some point we'll hopefully have a plan to change that public perception because it's not based in reality, I think. And the other comment that I want to make sure I share is that I don't see it much as it's not Fitchburg's problem to solve the issue of housing, but what's our opportunity here, given the need and the challenge around us? What's our opportunity? What's our appetite here for growth and development? And what's our comparative advantage here? How do we want to show up to this conversation in places? And what are the solutions that we want to bring to the table that are a benefit to the community and the sustainability of this community? That's how I see it, and I think that that's what is exciting because we do have some land, we have some options here, but how do we leverage them to the so that it's a triple win, if you win. There's a win for the environment. We keep the green spaces. There's a win for the city. We keep advancing the strategies. And then there is a win for the people. Everyone benefits from the strategy. So thank you.
I think it goes back to two words in my mind, creative and proactive. So as this comes forward, what's going to work best to get us going and make the community feel like they're engaged and being listened to? So other comments from the group, other comments from the people online?
I have one tiny comment. I think the other, and then it looks like Michelle might have a comment too. I think having a good structure of how neighborhood input is collected once a neighborhood is identified or a parcel of land is identified. Just talking with developers, Mike and Joyce provide a lot of support to them of like, hey, traditionally you want to invite people who are X amount of feet away from your space to a community listening session, which is really great. I think looking at the Greenfield neighborhood feedback, that has probably gone on twice as long as any other neighborhood feedback session, at least when I've asked that question. And I think some neighbors were kind of caught off guard because expectations weren't set up front. Like, I prefer expectations set up front too. I think everybody does. So kind of stating like, hey, the input, here's the process that we're going to follow for the listening sessions. Your input will absolutely be taken into effect. And here are the other things that we will be making a decision on. How does this economically affect the community, to Mario's point? Like all of these other pieces, it's not just will neighbors love this 100% and that's the only thing we're basing a decision on. So when I asked some of the neighbors who were disappointed by that process, they were like, well, we don't want this. And I said, well, was it explained to you that yes, your opinion matters, but it's like a blank percent of the opinion, right? And there's other factors. And they said, right. And they said, no, that expectations weren't set that way. And so I do think that could be really nice kind of going into these conversations in the future.
Well, tying back into that, I know that the mayor and the alders have been having listening sessions. And I went to one of those, and there was this it kind of went over this a little bit, but it didn't go, Joe wasn't there, I guess. Didn't go into any big, huge details on it. So maybe if the next time these are held, this can be a key topic that gets out beforehand and get people there. Yeah. All good points from everybody on, like I said, on this commission. Anybody else got their hands up over there? Michelle? I see your hands up.
Yes, hi, good morning. Of course, I've been listening. I am a renter, a long-term renter here in Fitchburg. And I also do property management here in Fitchburg. I appreciate all the surveys that's kind of going out, but what really would be beneficial for the renting side is to connect with these property managements. And when you connect with these property management companies, find out the target of the long-term renters. Because, we do have long-term renters that, been renting in Fitchburg for 10, 15 years. Do they want to stay renters or do they want to become homeowners, one? And then two, what is it that they need in their communities? But then I also want to go back to the people who come and rent for a year or two in Fitchburg. The reason that they're leaving is because the rent is too expensive. You also have to deal with the diversity. Right now, majority of the renters in my neighborhood is, all of them are people of color. So a lot of them is really looking for a place to live in the now and probably not knowing what 5 years look like. Now, I'm a person that thinks long term. So I feel like all these listening sessions, all of these stuff, go to these property management companies. A lot of them have community rooms. A lot of them will recruit their tenants to come down and listen. Bring some pizza, anything of that nature. Because if you're trying to get the word out, what I'm more worried about is who you all getting the word out to and who are you all are missing.
Good points.
Thank you.
Anything else,
We do
Michelle?
have several property managers on our contact list, and emails have gone out to them, and I will be diligent about following up and making sure I talk to them and hopefully can get into some of their buildings.
I do a lot of market surveys, so if you want to connect with me offline, we can discuss some things if that's okay.
Thanks for the offer, Michelle. Other comments from you? Okay. Any other comments from the folks online? Okay, then we will move ahead. Mike, you look like you're ready to say something, or Joyce, go ahead.
Actually, we probably both have some comments. You go ahead first.
No, you go ahead.
No, I think I want to end this.
You had another slide.
No, I was just going to ask if Dan or Michelle have anything specific that they wanted to add. We just want to make sure everybody has a chance to offer input and comments. Nope. Okay.
Okay, we'll move ahead. Go ahead, Kristen. Next slide.
I just want to share the timeline to completion. We hope to have the final report done in December, wrapping it up, towards the end of this calendar year for final presentation and approval by the City Council in January. So you can see the work that we're doing. Community input should be complete in August. Then we'll really move into taking everything we've learned from the community, the pages of notes, the survey data, results from events, and then analyzing it along with all of the data that Dana is digging up and looking at it from many different lenses toward programming, toward gap analysis, toward demand forecast, toward strategies and policies. So that's we have a bulk of, this is getting into the, it feels like we're in a quiet phase right now because we're listening and we're gathering, but then we put all that work to work in the next several months. So that concludes our formal presentation.
Okay, I would like to thank our guests today, our consultants, Kristen, Dania, and Dean, for giving us something to think about. I hope we gave you some comments to take forward in your plan as it goes forward. I think we're all engaged here and everybody had good feedback points. I'd also like to thank our guests from the Housing Advisory Committee and our members of CETA who are here this morning. So if there's nothing else on this project,
I just have a couple of little comments. I'm sure you're not surprised, Kristen and Dana, that I have a few things that I wanted to share. But I just want to maybe, since you guys have done a lot of housing plans, I've got a couple questions about first-time home buyers. It seems to me, and maybe my perception is wrong, but it seems to me that the first-time home buyers' expectations have changed as far as what that house looks like. When I was looking for my first house, I wasn't looking for quartz countertops or panel doors or wood floors or all sorts of built-ins and bells and whistles. But it seems to me that the first-time home buyer now, those are no longer a luxury. That's an expectation. Are you guys seeing that? And those are the things that drive the prices up. Most first-time home buyers start out in the 1,200 square foot 30, 40, 50-year-old house, and they make improvements and they build equity and then they sell it and then they maybe get into their dream home. Can you just comment on that?
Well, I agree with you 100%. First house I bought was 960 square feet, and it was actually a 3-bedroom without a basement. It was small. And it was $62,000 in 1995, or 93. But that, you're right. We were able to build equity and move up and progress from there. And I don't know if it's because those houses are, there's a lack of availability of those houses. One data point that was surprising to me, I learned this a few years ago, that seniors are staying in their houses longer. So if they bought a house, let's just say in 1950 or 60, and they're staying in their house much longer, they're living independently for longer, they're adapting it, they're not leaving that house. 2 decades ago, people would leave that house in their 60s or 70s. Now they're staying until their 80s or 90s. So that's not freeing up that portion of the existing housing stock to become available to first-time home buyers. So when a first-time home buyer comes along, it might be a Viridian home in a neighborhood where, sadly, in the last few years, now they're paying over $400,000 for that house, where I bought my Viridian home 10 years ago in this neighborhood in Madison for $262,000, which today would seem like a dream. It's doubled in assessed value in that time, but it's just crazy what is available that's in that price range. So I don't know if it's because of availability and because of the changing demographic. Dana, do you have anything to add to my hypotheses? No? Okay. Do you agree? Yeah, okay.
And I would agree 100%. And I know for me, my first-time home buyers are coming out of luxury apartments.
Right.
And these luxury apartments are beautifully appointed with all the amenities and the beautiful finishes, the beautiful appliances and all of that. For the same payment, I take them to a home, and that home does not even come close. And so they say, well, geez, why would I want to leave this beautiful luxury apartment with all these amenities to go and live in a a smaller home that I have to either update myself, spend a lot of money, and they can't afford it, and that home is, $450,000, and it's a fixer-upper. So it is a challenge in that way for first-time home buyers. The expectations of what they can get for that, same $2,200 a month, there's a real disconnect there. So that does become a real issue.
And then as far as, some of the things we talked about, I'm just going to stress again that we need to have a balance of land. We need to make sure that we have land for our commercial and industrial users, because if we don't have good jobs, don't have good employers, we're not going to have residents that can afford to live out here, and that's very important. And right now, we do not have that. And, I just got a request for someone looking for 100 acres for a very fantastic company that would have 700 jobs, and we can't even look to fulfill even putting something out there. So I'm very concerned about making sure that we're balanced, that we don't overpromise and underserve, because that's not the type of work that our department is used to doing. And I'm also just concerned about messaging altogether. Sometimes we like to find out that the cup is half empty versus saying the cup is half full. And people will engage in what they want to engage with. So I don't want you guys to get set up for, if your survey numbers are low. Last time we did the housing plan, when we had our open house, we had 8 people there. And of the 8 people, 5 of them were staff. So that at that time, that shows you what the interest in the housing market was. So I'm being cautiously optimistic, but I'm also living in the real world that $10 million is, I think we've probably spent that 10 times over with the ideas that have come out each and every day. So I want people to be understanding of the process, what the role of local government is in housing, and how we're trying to put our best foot forward. So that's my sermon for today. But we're here to help, and whatever we can do, let us know. Oh, one other thing, manufactured housing. We've always had a very high standard of construction here, and I think education on what a manufactured house is, because back in the day, we had manufactured housings, and they were called Impala homes, and they weren't brought in on a semi, but they were brought in on, they constructed the walls and stuff, and then they set them with a crane. And they were parade homes too. And the neighborhood that you talked about, Andy, the Oak Meadow condominiums, that was a parade site as well. So, I think understanding the whole housing demographic, if you want to say, and makeup is really important. And I'll just let you know that I'm taking 2 of the elders out next Wednesday to do some neighborhood walks. And if you'd like to join me, you're welcome to.
Thank you.
Well, speaking from someone who lives in an Impala home, I will tell you that the one nice thing that we had when we moved in the 90s was a company we could call if there were issues. And I think that service beyond a sale, that's my term, but I mean, having somebody you can call if you get into a home and there are issues or problems, not the developer comes and goes away. Because Impala was around town to deal with issues until 2008 when the housing market first tanked. But that's just a point that my neighbors, I remember liking that they were somebody they could get a hold of with issues. So again, it sits down there at the bottom of the list, but it's still there. So other comments? Joyce? Mike?
I'm done.
Mike?
I would just, and Kristen and Dana have heard this from me before, but the need for inventory across all housing product options, choices, and I think it's important that we provide a variety to meet our citizen and resident and family needs in the community, and not just have a one-size-fits-all to meet that continuum of housing for our residents here. The other thing I'll just mention is putting in a plug for the survey for anybody in our listening audience here. If you go out to our Fitchburg website, fitchburgwi.gov, right on the front page of the website is one of the tiles that if you click on that link for the Fitchburg Housing Plan 2025, you can go right to the survey through that link. And we really want to get input, ideas, and feedback, so please participate in that survey. Thank you.
Okay. If there's no other comments, we thank you folks very much, and we will go back into our CETA agenda, which is item number 6, the Economic Development Department reports. Mike and Joyce, floor is yours.
I'm just going to report a couple things. The Phase 2, Project 2 of the Efficiency Navigator went to the council Tuesday evening, and that was approved. So we'll be moving forward on some of the larger ticketed items that were identified in the assessments. I will be bringing back another request, as the window quotes have come in significantly higher than what we had originally estimated. So that will be a third project. It has been a fantastic program. As I mentioned before, we did have, they found several gas leaks. Thankfully, most of them were very minor, and they were able to fix them. One was a little bit more significant, and 2 of the properties that they went to just increase the insulation in, they actually found that the insulation in the attic was completely molded, and there was a roof leak. So that was a change order from the original insulation update to a complete attic insulation, and the property owners did put on a new roof. So, I mean, this program is doing really good things as far as, health and safety. And on the safety note, I'm going to push again that we look at sprinklers. I'm not sure if you're aware, but we did have another death. A fire in an apartment, and that is one of the important things that Mike and I had from the very first day when we talked about capitalizing an affordable housing fund. We feel as though those older units should have the same amenities as the new ones. So that may be something that we talk about as well. And as we talk about funding, the $10 million is going to go very fast, and we won't be able to replenish that till after I'm dead. So approximately 10 years. So before the next TID closes. So we just want to make sure that we're very smart and diligent with the programming that we do with those funds. And just a reminder, the community night out, we will be having a booth. So I encourage any CETA members to join me. We have a photo booth that should be a lot of fun. The police department's very excited because we have several businesses that have never been part of this evening celebration that are coming out. So Mario, I'm expecting you to be some kind of character of some sort. I'll be there. Okay, I got a costume for you. Yep.
Do you want to mention the date on that one?
Yep. It's August 13th. It's a Wednesday evening from 5 to 8 at McKee Farms Park. So if you can join us, that'd be fantastic. I think that's all I mentioned. We have, I think we have 2 RFIs that we're working on. Actually, 1. The other one, we don't have enough land, but working on another good company that we would love to have out here. And I believe that's it.
Joyce, other than Mario, if you need volunteer help from the rest of us, let us know. I'm around.
Just come on down.
Show up.
Yep. It's just
Okay.
Let people know who you are. That's all it is we want to show who CETA is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mike?
A couple of announcements. Tonight is the Fitchburg Biz After Hours for the Chamber, 4:30 kicking off at the Rusty Bee. So please join us if you're available for that one. Our budgets, our 2026 budget submittals were due on Tuesday. So we submitted our 15670 EDC budget. We submitted the housing one. And that reflects the bucket and program conversations that we had with these committees, as well as with the council. So the line items for the various programs have been submitted. We're waiting to submit the room tax budget until we get the second quarter in at the end of July. Here, Misty gives me an extra week to just kind of see the trend there, and then we'll put that one in. And then as part of the budget process, we're requesting or proposing to increase the hotel room tax rate from 7% to 8% in the fee schedule. So that's out there. Right. Yeah, it's comparable to most of the peer communities and everything in the region here. On the development front, you might have seen the article in the paper. And then I think there was something on Channel 3, maybe an interview with Chad yesterday regarding the Jamestown Quarry. So if you haven't been over there recently, a lot of dirt being moved, and they're getting those pad sites in the front kind of prepped and the public infrastructure going in. So once the infrastructure is accepted, then they'll move forward with building permits for the 4 users across the front. We're finalizing the TIF development agreement. We've got a deal struck that'll go to Finance and Council on August 12th for the Bowman Plaza redevelopment on Fish Hatchery Road. So we're finalizing the development agreement language on that project. Then on the east side in Uptown, UW Health, Life Point, Meritor Unity Point for the 40-bed rehabilitation hospital. We're finalizing approvals on that one. So we should see a groundbreaking from them sometime this fall. And then we're starting to work with Avante, conceptualizing an apartment project right at the roundabout of East Sherrill and Lacey Road, which would be a 4/2 that would anchor that corner. So that's another project. And then we've got a new development entity that has expressed interest in the Fawside property, the Cleanfill site between Highway 14 and MM. So we're trying to keep that one moving forward. And then the former Benvenutos, there is a Fairway Lounge, received approval for golf simulating business and lounge in that area. So we're excited to see that go forward. I think he's looking to launch sometime later in the fall, but that'll be a good reuse of that space in that building. I think that's everything so far. Joyce?
And just a reminder that Mike is doing an economic development update at the chamber meeting on August 12th. 12th. At, I believe it starts at 7:45. So if you want to know what's going on in the city, at the Wyndham.
So Mike, just a question on that. Is that the same update you gave at the listing sessions? Or is it going to be a different?
I was only limited to less than 10 minutes at the listening session. So this is the full-blown kind of overview and presentation.
Okay. It's at the Wyndham? Okay. All right.
You leave and you feel exhausted for Mike and Joy, and also excited.
I've felt that for them for a long time. Yeah. Okay, moving along. Thank you, folks. There's a lot going on in our city, even though we've got our challenge with our bigger project, the housing plan, but there's a lot going on. Any committee members have any updates? Yes, Andy.
Just a quick one. I think at the last meeting I mentioned that Joe and I were attending the Governor's Outdoor Recreation Awards. Fitchburg was up for an award. We did not win in our category, but as they say, it's just an honor to be nominated.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
You didn't win for best dressed?
I should have gone with the, what is this, like a Texas Longhorns color you've got on, Mike? Yeah. I should have gone with that one.
Oh, okay. Next time.
Okay. Any other announcements then? Well, I hope everybody can make the Rusty Bee tonight if you're free, and it's going to be raining, I think, so come prepared there. Our next scheduled meeting is Thursday, August 28th, so please put that on your calendars. And at this time, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So moved. So moved by Nicole, seconded by Mario. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
same sign. Thank you, everybody, for your time this morning. I think we learned a lot, and I think we gave our consultants some good feedback to take things forward. So we are adjourned. Thank you.